Hey, hello. I'm Jay Haley from Palmore Institute. This video is for our senior level speaking class. This is unit number 5, and it's the second video for unit 5. In the first video, I introduced some vocabulary that comes up in this unit, in this lesson. And for today, again, we'll have a special guest. I'm going to be talking with Lowell Isles again, and he'll be talking about advice for marriage. The story so far has been about topics such as relationships, marriage, culture, lifestyle. And in the video, I'm going to be asking Lowell about what he thought about Angela's situation from the first page of the unit. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce my interview with Lowell, and please enjoy the interview. Hey, joining me now is Lowell Isles. You're my first two-time guest, so congratulations.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you for having me.
I think you know the situation. I told you a little bit about it, but Angela is not sure she wants to get married or is ready to get married now anyway, or ever maybe. So what would your advice be to someone who's thinking about getting married?
Well, one piece of advice that my father gave me, and I came close to sticking pretty close to it, was that at least for men, men probably shouldn't get married until they're about 35 because most men are just not mature enough to handle the responsibilities of marriage before then.
Yeah.
Women tend to mature more, earlier. So I think women can handle that responsibility much better. So that's a factor to consider. Probably if they're in their 20s, I would tread cautiously because I think I'm not sure what the statistics are, but I imagine that especially for like a lot of people who get married in their teens or their later teens or early 20s, a lot of those marriages end in divorce. So I think that, marriage is a big commitment. So people need to really consider, do I really want to spend my life together with this person? I mean, divorce is becoming more common and it's an easy way out of the situation well, it's not easy, but it is a solution.
Yeah, maybe not so easy.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to the past, it's a lot easier
to find out. But yeah.
In terms of social mores and like divorce is much more accepted now than it was, say, 50 years ago or my grandparents' generation.
No, absolutely, yeah.
So I think that if they wind up making the wrong choice and getting in a marriage with a partner they're not compatible with, you do have that possibility where they can end it and they won't get so much of a negative social stigma from getting divorced like people in my grandparents' generation did.
Yeah.
I think, but basically my main point is that you should wait till your mid to late 20s probably, or for men, probably early to mid 30s before deciding to make that commitment.
That sounds like good advice.
Yeah.
You're right about men and maturity often. I think that works. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, Lowell, thanks for the advice, and appreciate your answer.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks. Yeah, thanks again.
Okay, bye.
See you. Okay, time for some feedback. Not sure she wants to. I think the situation. I told you a little bit about it, but Angela is not sure she wants to get married or is ready to get married now anyway. Okay, now with this one, it's actually not very difficult words, but it is a phrase that can be easily misunderstood, so I want you to be careful. When he says, not sure she wants to, when I say actually not sure that Angela wants to, I mean that she maybe wants to, but maybe doesn't want to, and she's having a tough time deciding, do I get married? Be very careful because it's different. If you look at the blue box, not sure she wants to is the top one. That's the one we've been talking about. But in the bottom one, very similar, just the word not has been moved. And if she says she is sure she does not want to, it's a very different meaning. She's sure she doesn't want to means her mind is made up. She knows exactly what she wants. She has decided, it's finished. She knows she doesn't want to get married. Okay. The top one again, she's in between. She's wondering, is it good or is it bad? She has not decided. In the bottom one, she has decided. Okay. So do be careful about where you put the word not, because it will have a big effect on the meaning that you want. A piece of advice.
Well, one piece of advice that my father gave me.
Okay, a piece of advice. Now, this is a good chance to remind you about the intricacies, the complexities of count and no count nouns. Now, remember, advice is uncountable. So when we want to count advice, you need a word before it, just like you would need a word like a glass of water or a tablespoon of sugar. Here, you count advice in pieces. It's a piece of advice. Okay. Be careful though, suggestions, very similar to advice and probably the same thing, really. These are countable. One suggestion, two suggestions, three suggestions. But you can't say one advice, two advices. It's one piece of advice, two pieces of advice, three pieces of advice, etc. Okay. Hey, count and no count. It's one of those tricky parts of English, and it never really stops. I know you've reached the senior level and you probably met this very early in your studies of English, but it will always be there. Okay, so if you didn't know before, advice is uncountable, suggestions are countable. Okay, the next one is a factor to consider.
At least for men, men probably shouldn't get married until they're about 35 because most men are just not mature enough to handle the responsibilities of marriage before then.
Yeah.
Women tend to mature more, earlier. So I think women can handle that responsibility much better. So that's a factor to consider.
Okay. When we talk about a factor to consider, I like this word because it actually came up last week. Well, a different word, but the same meaning. So what I have below in the middle of the slide, it says, a factor is about the same as an aspect. Aspect was the word last week. And last week I defined aspect as being one particular side of an issue. Okay. I think we were talking about the health aspect of exercise, of participating in sports, versus the social aspect or other aspects of sports. Okay. Again, you could take the word aspect and just change it for factor. Factor and aspect, they're basically the same thing. Okay. So just remember last week and very similar word this week. Tread cautiously.
Probably if they're in their 20s, I would tread cautiously.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this phrase, to tread cautiously. It's a very natural expression. Treading is it is your step. It is the way you are walking. Okay. When we tell someone to tread cautiously, it just means be careful. Okay. Step carefully. You're on dangerous ground. You gotta watch out. Okay. We use some phrases such as tread cautiously. Sometimes we'll say tread lightly if you should be delicate about a situation. So tread cautiously, tread lightly. These are two that really are very useful. Remember these words. Okay. A big commitment.
So I think that,
Oh yeah.
marriage is a big commitment, so people need to really consider, do I really want to spend my life together with this person?
Okay, commitment. When we talk about a commitment, it is an attitude of working very hard to support something. In this case, we're talking about a relationship, a commitment in a relationship, one person to the other person, that they're going to have a very serious and deep relationship. They'll work very hard to support this relationship. They won't give up when things become difficult. They're going to stick together, and that's a commitment. Marriage, yeah, that's a commitment. Social mores.
In terms of social mores and like divorce is much more accepted now than it was, say, 50 years ago or my grandparents' generation.
Okay, social mores. Now, you notice we say this word in a different way. I've met native speakers who will say mores, social mores. Personally, I say mores. I think they're both fine. Don't worry about that. But I'm going to use the word mores here, even though Lowell pronounces it as mores. It's the same thing. Okay. When we talk about mores, though, we mean behaviors and values that are standard and acceptable in a culture. It's kind of like the common sense about what is a good way to go, what is good morality, what is good, sensible, normal, good behavior. Okay, so when we talk about social mores, that's what we mean. We'll come back to mores in just a moment. If they wind up making the wrong choice.
So I think that, if they wind up making the wrong choice and getting in a marriage with a partner they're not compatible with.
Okay, wind up, wind up doing something. It just means to end up in some situation. I think we had the phrase to end up a little earlier on in one of the previous videos. It is the situation where something happens in the end. You probably didn't actually plan for this to happen. In this case, when you get married, you're not planning to get a divorce, but you wind up getting a divorce, whether you really plan for it or not. That's the same thing as end up. It's what happens in the end, maybe without too much planning or intention. Okay, social stigma.
We do have that possibility where they can end it and they won't get so much of a negative social stigma from getting divorced like people in my grandparents' generation did.
Okay, yeah, this is the last one in our list. And when we talk about a social stigma, it's the public shame that results from breaking social mores. I hope you remember social mores, a couple vocabulary words ago. When you break certain social standards, some taboos, society and the people around you maybe point the finger and say, oh, that is a bad person. You are bad. Well, in that case, that is a social stigma. Okay, Lowell is making the point here that divorce used to carry a lot of social stigma, although with time, attitudes about divorce have changed, and now no one is really shocked very much if someone is divorced. Okay, that's about it for this set of videos. Once again, thanks to Lowell Isles for joining me. Next time, we're going to be moving on to unit number 6. So go ahead and check that out. And next time, I'll be introducing some information. With any luck, soon school will be opening again, and we'll be able to do this face-to-face. I can get the questions live, and it'll be nice to see your faces again. Until that time, though, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.